Now, last Sunday, Nigeria failed to qualify for the World Cup Intercontinental Playoffs after that loss against DR Congo on penalties. And this meant that for back-to-back World Cup tournaments, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will not be part of that, even after the tournament being expanded. The first expanded edition, that we have 48 teams and 9 from Africa and a potential 10th team should an African team qualify from the intercontinental playoffs. And Nigeria, who are the supposed giants of African football, are not going to be part of that team. It brought a lot of reactions from fans around, and just the sadness of Nigeria not qualifying for this particular tournament. And it begs the question, what is happening in Nigerian football, and how can Nigerian football grow and be different from what it is now to what it used to be, or to better? And sitting in the studio with me is Usman Mustafa, and I'm joined from Madrid, Spain by Super Eagles defender Kenneth Omeruo. Thank you so much for joining us, Kenneth, on the show today. Well,
thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's going to be an interesting discussion, and I would like to begin with you asking you this particular question. I recall before now, 10, 12, 14 years from now, when it used to come to the youth category, the under 17, the under 20, Nigeria used to be a major force. But it's not looking the same now. And at this point, Nigeria are in a precarious situation, not qualifying for a second World Cup. Against all odds, so many thought they would have been able to get to the intercontinental playoffs. What does this mean for Nigerian football, and how can we get to this stage that Nigeria used to be?
Okay. Firstly, I would say I know a lot of people were disappointed. I myself, I was also very disappointed from that game, because I was there, like, to watch. We already put ourselves in a very difficult situation coming to those playoffs. It would have been better we qualified directly, but it didn't happen, and there's a lot of factors, and I don't want us to start talking about, okay, what happened, or what would have done better. But I think, like you asked, from when I was in the under 17, we had a lot of tournaments. So we had Shell Cup, which shapes players from the secondary schools and all. Right now, there is not a lot of that happening, and the fact that the World Cup now on the 17 is every year. So, for example, it's really, I feel really, really sad that we're not going. It's been two World Cups in a row on the 17, which means we're not going to see the next Kenneth Omeruo, the next Victor Osimhen. This past few years would have been looking forward to one star that everyone would be hoping would graduate to the Super Eagles at one point. And I think what can be done is the national team needs to start grooming players from under 14. We have these tournaments now every year. So if from under 14, 15, we can graduate them to the under 17 national team. Of course, we can also, for example, if there is a player in maybe doing well in one league, that is the age, we can still bring them in. But the base of the team should be players already graduating from, okay, let's say one of the secondary school tournaments. They scout them into the national under 14 team, and then from there they graduate. They play, because the World Cup now is every year. So we have time to start. Let's not, okay, the Super Eagles, we can pick one or two, but that's for the next few years. But if we start that project, it means the future would be, we're looking at, 5, 6 years from now, we will have players graduating to the under 20, the under 23, because we have to dominate those categories again, like it used to be, not going to the World Cup now is really sad for everyone. I myself, I was there to watch the game, and believe me, it's easier being on the field than watching from outside. And yeah, it happened.
Yeah, Uncle K, before I come back to you, I will ask a question to our guest analyst, that's Usman Mustafa, and I will also want a reply from you. Usman, you watching that game between Nigeria and DR Congo, I think there was a blend of foreign-based players and home-based players, because we had players from the DR Congo who play for TP Mazembe, players who play for Pyramid FC. That's a player like Fiston Mayele who just won that award at the CAF event. And you see that the combination of the foreign base and domestic base proved so difficult for the Nigerian side. Would you say that the state of the Nigerian football at home, the NPFL, where players cannot even necessarily be picked from the NPFL to represent Nigeria, is part of the problem?
Yes, I would want to agree with that, because it's this form of detachment you will see from our players when we lose games or when games go very, very bad. For a player like Osimhen, who came through the youth ranks, you can tell that this man is hot, he's heartbroken, he's dejected that we could not make it to the next level. I remember vividly a game against Zimbabwe where we were leading by a goal to nothing and we considered a late goal. His emotions got the best of him. He was ranting, he was ranting. I love Nigerians where, we are angry that he was acting that way. But this is a player that knows what it means to play for Nigeria. The heart and soul and the core of this team has to be a lot of players who know what it means to play for the team. And having players who play from the youth level to that very top level, you can show that yes, there is a lot of dedication to how they play. In the Nigerian, we do not have so many Nigerian players that can play, come play for the national team and show that same quality and that same level of anger and emotion when things do not go for us. And I will look at under 17, under 20, under 23. I can't remember the last time we qualified to under 20 championships. Under 17, we do not even qualify anymore. And under 20 World Cup, we saw how terrible, how abysmal our teams are. And all of this is boiled down to the administrators who have not created a pathway and support for these players to make it to that level. You bring players to play for under 17 team, we do not qualify, they abandon them. No one cares about them. Same time in under 20, and you see players who qualify for this tournament do not get to play at this tournament. At the last under 20 World Cup, most of the players that qualify for under 20 World Cup did not make it there. They start going to Bulgaria and and Russia and wherever to bring players to come and play for the under 20 World Cup. And these players do not know what it takes to play for the national team. It is a very big problem. For the DR Congo side, the last Nations Cup, we saw that a core of them were from the local league. They play for TP Mazembe and the other teams, for the team Mazembe, and they made it to the semi-final of the last Nations Cup. Now they've gotten to almost a World Cup level, and the players, the international players, the quality ones who they want can currently be brought in. The captain, Chancellor Member, has been a core for the team, playing for a very, very long time. Fiston Mayele was a player they had to the fans were angry when at the last Nations Cup he was not getting a lot of game time. They knew what he does on the local scene, and they pressurized the coach to ensure that this guy plays for the team, and they played well. They had a good run. The Elias and the rest of them who come to the side are players who have been a team part of the team for a very, very long time. But in Nigeria, we want a finished article, we want a finished product. We want a player we want to actually go and bring a player who is doing well at the club, rather than looking at how to fix the problem and why we are at this level. Look at the team now. Without Osimhen, the guys who are deputizing him are not as good enough as he is. Okay, Tora Arokodare is doing well again. Go and call Tora Arokodare come and play for us. This one is doing well. Go and call him. But how about we grow our local league and ensure that maybe if things are not going right, we can just go back to what is happening inside, bring a player from inside to come and fix this position. We saw that with Stephen Keshi, a defensive pairing of Obuabona, who was playing as Sunshine Stars, and of course Kenneth Omeruo won the Nations Cup for Nigeria. He went to the league to bring somebody. At some point, we will have an Agueke play, in defense for us. We had the Indiba goalkeeper coming to play goalkeeper for us. The solutions are supposed to be brought in from inside. And the manager have to believe the local team. And in the local league are not doing well. The managers are left to no choice but to bring foreign international to come and play for us. And when they lose games, they think it's another club side game they've lost. The attachment is not there.
Well, Kenneth, coming back to you, right? As a professional footballer, can you explain the importance of a mixture of home base, like the quality? Let us know the quality, the difference in the quality.
Okay, so right now, of course, I'm someone that I always believe in the local league with the talents we have there. And I'm always someone that would say, like, why is the league not being televised? That's one of the major problems we have. we need this league televised. There was one time it was being televised. I was actually looking forward to going in the weekend to go on my phone, click on the app and watch the league because we have talents there. But if they are not being shown out, for example, the coach can be like, okay, if we had our league on We Scout and every games are being televised, it's easy for the coaches to say, okay, type this player or this club. Let me watch their games, their last games, and this is the only way they can see what's happening. But if they will have to travel to watch one game and travel to another city to watch the net, it doesn't really help us. We need these leagues televised. On WeScout, you can type a player's name and you see all their videos. It makes it easier for us to promote these players, and then that hype can bring them into the national team. But now, if you're telling maybe a scout or a team that, oh, we have this quality player in, I think back then you could go on SuperSport and watch Nigeria League.
Yeah.
So it was easier then to identify a few players and say, okay, let's invite this player, let's invite the other player. But now it's like you only go SofaScore on the internet. Oh, Rangers play the Imba. This is the score. But where is the game? We don't get to watch the games every weekend. And that would have made it easier for the coaches to decide, oh, this player, I've watched 5 of his games, is a very good player. We need to invite him. This is important because without that, most times when they bring these players to the national team, I've been in the national team with a few of them this past years, and already they are feeling like the level is so different because already they are there like, oh, we're just here to complete the team. We're not here to compete. So it's different than when you're bringing a player who people have been watching him, he's been hyped, he knows that he's good enough to be there. It gives him confidence. But most of the players who come to the national team from the local leagues now, they just come to complete the team, to train. They don't compete, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
For example, if there's a tackle, maybe he tackled Osimhen or something. He's being careful. He's like, oh, sorry, stuff like that. It shouldn't be like that. You have to come into the national team with confidence that, guy, I want to be selected in that game. I want to play that game, not just coming to say, okay, I just came to complete the team, to get the experience and move on. Most of the players come to the national team. A few even went to I think it was Unity Cup in London. And after that tournament, they went to sign in Egypt. They went to sign in countries that I don't even know because their mindset is, let me get this profile that I've been with the Super Eagles to go and sign somewhere. But you should come to the national team with confidence that I want to play. Even if it's 20 minutes, I will play and I will prove myself.
Well, talking about proving self, before I go to you, Usman, I'll still ask Kenneth this question. So many talk about grassroots development and how football should start from the grassroots. But ideally, you've been in different clubs across Europe, right? Ideally, how should this scouting or discovering of players happen? Is it just from academies, or is it just from picking players, or looking really inside the grassroots?
So a lot of people know I'm one player who, my passion has always been to try to bring grassroots players, from the local clubs, whatever, try to get them to Europe. This is, I don't know if I will be a coach at one point, but this is actually what I enjoy doing. And I always say, start from the schools, the secondary schools. In Europe here, every club they have under 10s, 11, and they graduate. Every year there is like a screening. If you don't get to the next level, they take you out. For example, the story of Febere. now playing for Arsenal.
Yeah.
When he was in Arsenal, he couldn't make it to the next level. It doesn't mean that he wasn't good enough or he will not get to that level, which he did at some point. But there are other players who were better than him then. So there's always that if you can't make it to the next level, you can go to another academy and stuff. But I always believe when I was in secondary school, we had Shell Cup. And Shell Cup was something every player was looking forward to, and with competitions, secondary school competitions like this, we can actually make this tournament to be televised, even if it's YouTube. From there you pick players to the national under 14, I don't know, under 15. And then from there, every year you grow these players. They play tournaments. There are a lot of tournaments they can travel to play. And then, even from the national team, you can loan them to club sides. Because these days, academies now, they only think about selling these players to Europe.
Yeah.
That's what they are focused on. Clubs come to Nigeria. I keep wondering why we can't sell players from, for example, Eyimba to Chelsea for 40 million. But we can't do this if we don't fix the league, if we don't get the games televised. We keep selling players, they come in, they buy the player 100,000, 200,000. And in few years, they're selling the player for 50,000, 40,000. And the academies don't get the value of the players because they just want to make that quick money, and move to the next one.
Well,
so I think we have to have a system where we graduate the players, organizing tournaments from schools and pick the best players, to the national team. And then from there, we can build the stages like on the 17, on the 20, on the 23. And now when these players get to the Super Eagles, they have the confidence, they have the experience to, show what they have.
Well, thank you so much, Kenneth Omeruo, for your time on the show today. Thank you so much, Usman Mustafa, as well, for your time on the show today.